We know so little about fear. Everybody's talking about it, and it's very obvious that it's a central theme if you want to succeed in your life, individually or in business settings. And me as a creative saw that when I was even a young manager, I could see that fear plays a critical role in our success. But I couldn't know and didn't understand really how to handle it. So a couple of the things that I noticed when working with different companies in Finland and in Northern Europe was that people, especially leaders and top managers, thought that fear is some sort of like magic power to motivate people and to make things happen. And they would even use words like burning platform and didn't really understand that people would actually burn on that platform. And some people individually thought that maybe fear is some kind of like magic or evil spell, that you cannot do nothing about it. And this annoyed me so much. So the basic idea for my book and for my research, because I reach out to experts in this field, was to prove that fear is not a magic power nor an evil spell, and you can do something about it. But we have to dig a little bit deeper than just into these like psychological or mythological or mystical explanations of fear. I think fear is very concrete. It's biological, it has its physiology and neurology, and it has a great effect on our intelligence, individually and also on group level. And if we think about today's skills, complex problem solving is one of the key skills for people at the moment. The second one is critical thinking. We need to think more critically. And the third is creativity. And these all comes from the research of World Economic Forum. And I will tell you now that actually fear is taking our own power and our intelligence away from all these skills. So let me start by talking about one movie that fear plays a central role in. It's a movie called Jaws. How many of you have seen the movie Jaws? And you know, it's funny because you really don't have to like figure out that, did I see that movie or not? It is pretty self-evident. And this is because of the reason that the fear memory is ingrained deeply in your limbic system, specifically in amygdalas. So this is what we have to understand. The association of fear is in amygdalas, and we can do something about it. But the other thing is that every time that amygdalas lead up, then something even more profound happens. Your central nervous system starts to prepare ourselves for, it's a common name to use, fight or flight, but maybe a little bit more accurate term would be mobilization. And this is where our intelligence drops dramatically. If you can remember the movie, you probably remember that these people were not that very intelligent. They were actually quite stupid in making the decision in Amityville. So they decided they were afraid of losing all that money that was pouring in from the tourists. So they made an informed decision to let everybody swim, and of course we all know what happened after that. Also in the movie, you can see the two sides of fear. Only the other one is actually called fear, is when you see the shark, that is actually fear. And when you think about the shark, that's anxiety. Psychologists think that these are two separate things, but actually both of them lit up your amygdalas and start your defensive behavior. So basically they are the same. And Steven Spielberg was genius in playing out the movie way he did. So you rarely see the shark, but there's a feeling that the shark is lurking you somewhere. And I bet some of you here actually changed their swimming habits after seeing the movie. And I was one of them too. I was 10 years old when I saw the movie, And there are no reported shark sightings in the aerial waters of Finland, I can tell you that. But still I felt like, well, there is something lurking in this pond. And when I was writing my book, I would tweet out and say people that, have you had same kind of experiences? And one man even wrote me and said that he had to rush out of the swimming pool when he thought that there's a shark coming after him in the swimming pool. You really have to be very creative in like building that image in your head. But that was just movie and maybe stupid things that we did individually. But people in society started acting very stupidly because of the movie. Still, the marine biologists think that because of the movie, there's still a sizable dent in shark populations in the world. Because people, especially in the coastal areas of the United States, started slaughtering sharks. There were shark killing contests, and people were rewarded of killing sharks. And at 1975, we didn't know that much about sharks. So this is my main point. Fear might be motivation, and fear actually might give you focus and energy, but it really makes us stupid most of the time. So let me ask you a question. Do you feel safe now? Well, no one is answering, so probably, okay, thinking about sharks or something like that. So you feel safe. Dr. Stephen Porges calls this neuroception of safety. Neuroception is a sort of like radar that is checking out our environment, that is there anything threatening? And it decides if this situation is safe, dangerous, or life-threatening. And it works with our system accordingly. So, but we can change this. We have runners here with microphone, and in a moment I can pick up one of you here in the audience. And I have a question in my mind, and the answer that you're giving will tell the truth whether you're intelligent or an unintelligent person. So, and I will pick one of you from the audience here. And now I can even see who is avoiding my look here. I mean, so if I'm focusing on you right now, okay, and now I can see that you have a reaction that. And what is going through in your bodily systems at the moment and in your head? Do you feel safe? No, you don't. What is happening to your heart rate? It's going up. And now what happens is, and I don't have any question, I'm not a sadist, I'm not going to give you any question, just to demonstrate how this system works. Now what happens is that there's a release of vagal brake. A vagus nerves actually sends a tone to the pacemaker of your heart. And it's steady when you're safe. But when you notice something threatening, like some bloke from Finland comes asking stupid questions here and then focuses on you, then the vagal brake is released. So your heart starts pumping. And there's a reason for this. Because we need glucose and we need oxygen in our big muscles. Because we are getting ready to mobilize. And this is where we lose the social connection. This is where all the bad things start to happen. Because now you're getting ready to fight or flight in this moment. And now we're not creative. We are not like fixing very critical and hard problems at the moment. We're just trying to survive in the moment. And I think this is what happens at workplaces, at tests, at universities, all the things that count in our life, we see this happening. And we need to control it individually and in groups. So, I will get back to how to control this vagus nerve. But the idea is that we need to know how to control this brake. And we need to know how to get back to neuroception of safety individually, that's our task, and then in group, and that's our leaders and managers' task, to create a culture where neuroception of safety is a standard. And this doesn't mean that there shouldn't be like dangerous situations or critical thinking or even debate. It just means that we need to have that connection with each other to feel the neuroception of safety and be creative and express something that we're afraid of expressing. And usually those are the most interesting creative ideas. Okay, fear can make us really stupid. Risk-taking actually decreases when we are in the neuroception of danger. And let's think about the world at the moment. We need to take more risks, more creative and strategic risks at workplaces. That's the way to find our path into the future. Also, what decreases is explorative behavior. And that's a bad thing. We are not curious anymore about different people, different cultures, different ideas. And that's bad for creativity. The one thing also that plummets is our intelligence. There was a test made where they wanted to see how social pressure, even a mild social pressure, would affect on individual intelligence. And they did a test setting where they put people doing IQ tests, but everyone could see their standing in the group of 5 after every single test. They didn't see anybody else's name, so they knew that they were safe, but still they knew that what is my rank in this group of 5 people. And they divided, after the results came in, the groups to 2 different groups. And the one group was where the effect wasn't that big, and they could actually change their approach to the task and getting better all the time towards the end of the whole experiment. But even in this group, there was an average 8-point IQ drop. And if you think that you're like 130, which is basically the threshold for success, if you're 130 and then you're trying to solve complex problems and you get down to 122, that's not a good thing. But there was a group of people who, for the effect, was much greater. And their average drop was 17.4 points. And this is a disaster. If you start from 120, you end up close to 100. And there were even people in this group for who the drop was 30 points. And if you start from 120 and go below 30, I mean, you're in 90. And that's quite close to the smartest dog on the planet. So I think it's a German Shepherd who has an IQ for 85. And this is very unscientific, but anyway, I think it's a good story and a good comparison. So if you're trying to really solve hard problems and the only thing you hear in your head is woof, woof, I mean, that's an unbelievably bad thing. And the bad thing also is for our group intelligence, that as you remember, when we are in a neuroception of safety, we are in a social engagement mode. But fear disconnects us from others, and it could be in many forms. And this is a bad thing for group intelligence. Anita Williams-Woolley did a great research with 699 people. She wanted to find out that what are the determined things in group intelligence. And she found that it's not the average intelligence of the group members, or it's not even the highest IQ of one group member. But there are 3 things that separate smart groups from stupid groups. And here are the 3 things. The first one has something to do with neuroception of safety, definitely. It's conversational turn-taking. And the idea here is that the more equally the turn-taking is distributed, the more smarter and intelligent the group. And everybody who has been in creative business understands this, because we have lots of methods to actually make this happen. But there's a basis underneath this, which refers to our biology and neurology and physiology, and even for the neuroception of safety. So the second thing was social sensitivity, the average social sensitivity of group members. And it was very important that the group had at least 1 or 2 people who could understand that maybe that person there didn't get that feedback or didn't got his or her opinion heard or understood in this group. or maybe even the turn-taking isn't equally distributed. And the third thing was the amount of women in the group. So the number of women in the group. And I actually have a problem at this point, not because of the women, because I consider myself as a feminist, but this stresses and enforces a stereotype that women are more socially intelligent and men are more mathematically intelligent. But I can assure you that research says that in the countries where equality is a big thing, like in Northern Europe, women are better in mathematics than in countries where there's a chauvinistic culture or male-dominant culture. And why is that? It's not because of the genes or biology. It's basically because of the culture. But anyway, this is very important to understand, that our group intelligence is tied to neuroception of safety. And Anita Williams-Woolley didn't actually research fear. She was just trying to find out that what is the central ideas of group intelligence. Okay, everybody here wants to be fearless, but I would like us to reconsider that, do we really want to be fearless? I don't think so. I think we want to be courageous, but to be fearless would mean that you would actually have a very specific brain damage. It would mean that your amygdalas wouldn't work. And we have people who don't have amygdalas anymore, and their life is sometimes horrible. The other reason for being fearless would be that you're a sociopath or a psychopath. And you don't want that either. It would be probably good for you. I mean, one of the groups of people where the prevalence of psychopaths is higher is CEOs. Also, TV stars and journalists are in that group, so I'm not better off. Some police officers and lawyers are in that group, and also surgeons. And they fare very well because they are not afraid. But everybody around them usually suffers. So we don't really want to be fearless. We want to have this battle for our innate responses to dangerous situations. And that's one part of being a human being. I think this is very central, the being a human. But at the same time, when we think that fear is just a bad thing, we must also remember that with proper use, you can use it to your advantage. Sometimes it is rocket fuel. It gives you energy because it gives you glucose and oxygen. And sometimes even the upper layers of your head, namely neocortex. It gives you energy, focus, and sometimes motivation to prepare for something that is very important. But most of the time, still, I think, fear should be banished from workplace and from your head, because it disrupts your intelligence and how you're able to work with your highest possible abilities intellectually and socially in your groups. So where to start? I will give you a couple of ideas how to banish fears from individual and group and team life. The first thing, it's a long list of things, and this came from Stephen Porges. Prolonged exhalation, because this is the way to operate that vagal brake. If you prolong your exhalation, then the tone to your heart's pacemaker, it gets stronger, and it will calm you down, and you will get your intelligence back online and also your social abilities. It'll take probably 90 seconds to 2 minutes, but it'll work every time. Speak longer sentences. If you're afraid of public speaking, this is a very good thing, because you just add words in your sentences. It's the same technique. Singing would be good too. Not maybe if you're publicly speaking. It could be weird, or it could be original also. But anyway, it's the same technique that you can borrow from there. Play clarinet. Stephen Porges used to play clarinet, so he understood this while he was very young, and understood that this is a technique that you use to prolong your exhalation, and it will calm you down. And use pranayama. This comes from yoga practice, to controlling your voice box and controlling your breath and exhalation, sometimes even until 3.5 minutes. That takes a lot of practice, but it feels good when you get there. The second one is take the bets off the table. This is something that I remind me all the time, that no one in 200 years will remember me. And I think this idea is so relieving. And you can even test it. So if you think about your grandparents' grandparents, if you can even name one, that's quite an accomplishment. But can you say one mistake that they did? I don't think that no one can actually do that. So these things vanishes. And for me, it's good to take risks and explore the world and see what can I make out of it. Destroy strong hierarchies. Use different kind of methods to do that. There's a Finnish company called Futurize, and Futurize decided, there are 300 people working in the company, that they will destroy their hierarchy with expenses. And they gave a company credit card to every single employee of their company, and they don't want them to make any questions about it, how to use it. They just have to figure out that, how does this affect customers, how does this affect colleague and the company bottom line in short term and in long term. But you don't have to report it to anyone. Just keep the receipts for IRS. Next one, encourage expression of heretic opinions. According to recent research, this is the reason why Nokia got into trouble. Because people who would voice their concerns about their capabilities of producing smartphones, they were silenced. They were not happy campers. And people were afraid that they are losing, and at the same time, people were very afraid of voicing their opinion, because that would mean probably that you would be out of the door of the company. So this led to double standards in the company, and they were not looking at the problems intelligently, and they couldn't actually compete with iPhone or other competitors at the market. And that's a sad thing. And probably this is only one of the reasons for the collapse of Nokia, but according to recent research, this is a central one. And then the last one is always be plussing. And this comes from Pixar, because we really need to have those critical conversations at our workplace. So how to do that? If someone puts out an idea, how can we criticize it and still remain in the new reception of safety? At Pixar, it's done that you have to plus something. So if you decide that, okay, this is wrong and we should change this, you should have an idea how to change this. Then you're putting your neck out there, and then you're in the same level with the people, and you can have a very critical conversation and still remain in the new reception of safety. So last thing I'm going to put out there is a hippie utopia disclaimer, which means that when I talk about new reception of safety, that means that I don't want to build companies, I don't want to build cultures where everybody's a happy camper and we all love each other, because we need that critical conversation, we need that debate in the companies. But my idea there is that we would still keep the connection to our intelligence, to our social abilities, and mainly and mostly to other human beings. And I think this is a change that we all want to see in our workplaces. Thank you very much.